what you have in critical thinking.
I like this example. So Greece is going to default. We have talked about that in various ways. S&P said it's going to default very shortly.
Yes.
Right? So what did Reuters report on this?
So from Reuters, the quote was, underscoring the stakes involved, a senior S&P official told Bloomberg Television that Greece would default very shortly. Whether there will be a solution at the end of the current rocky negotiations, I cannot say, Mr. Moritz Kraemer, the head of the agency's European Sovereign Ratings Unit, said. There is a lot of brinksmanship on, and a disorderly default will have ramifications on other countries, but I believe policymakers will want to avoid that. The game is still on.
That's what reported by Reuters.
Yes.
Here's what he actually said from Bloomberg News.
Relative to the size of the economy, larger in Austria than they are, for example, in Germany.
I would like to ask you as well, before we go, about the current situation in Greece and how likely you think it is now, after these downgrades, that it's a step closer to default.
Well, we think, by our definition, Greece will default very shortly. Even the debt exchange that has been proposed is a default. By our definition, it's a distressed exchange. Whether there will be a solution at the end of the current rocky negotiations, I cannot predict. There's a lot of brinkmanship going on right now. We think there's a lot at stake, and policymakers across Europe will be aware that if you have a disorderly default of Greece in March, when a large bond comes due and cannot be refinanced, that the ramifications for other countries.
Well, it cut out, but basically it said something completely different, didn't it?
It did. They had one part missing that was critical. It says, by our definition, is what he said.
Exactly. So S&P's definition of a default is any time you don't get 100% of your money back. But we've been negotiating, we haven't been, but they've been negotiating for a 50% reduction in the amount of debt. And that would be good. They started with 20, now they're 50. Now they are negotiating about 70% of reduction in debt. So regardless of what they agree to, by S&P's definition, it will be a default. And if everybody's happy, the markets won't react to it, and everything will be fine, except that this S&P guy has been reported to say it's going to default very shortly, and the meaning of default means we're in trouble.
Yes, it does. So how do we catch this?
Well, so this is exactly what you should be thinking. This was 6 minutes and 15 seconds into a 6-minute and 59-second video clip that you would have to go deep into the archives to find. So the problem is and I found this because it said Bloomberg Television said that this happened. So they were reporting what Bloomberg Television said.
So you went right to the
source. So I went
source.
right to the source. So you have to do your own homework. That's the key. I didn't believe it was very shortly. The S&P guy said very shortly. Really? It didn't make sense to me. I didn't believe it. So I had to go see the source. So I did my own homework. So I wanted to find out what they actually said. You know, for you guys at home, this might not be worth your time. You're not making a decision based on Greece, but I'm managing money. It makes a difference to me if Greece is going to defend very shortly. So if it matters to you, go to the source, get all the filters out of the way, and find out actually what the person said or what is actually wrote. Don't believe other person's interpretations of what they said, because they can leave out a part that is very critical to you. So you've got to realize that if it's important, you've got to go to the source and do your own homework. You can't rely on other people.
And what's your takeaway?
My takeaway is the problem with reading the headlines is that they're intentionally sensational. That puts the burden on us individually to do our own homework. Yes, it's more work, but if the decision is crucial, then the homework is worth it. If it's not, then why are you listening at all?